would like to give them to you now. So what we have for you today is a proposal we would like for you all to listen to. And I'm going to hand it over to my friend Ava, and she's going to start.
Good
with you
job.
guys.
Yeah. Around the corner.
Right now, Seminole has a couple outdoor parks, and the main targets are kids and families. These parks can be used during good weather, but we don't really have that many places to go to whenever it's cold outside and whenever the weather's not nice. We do have the wellness center, but that's mostly for people who want to work out. There is a basketball court as well, but not really everyone wants to use that. And then the challenge right now, we have very limited activities for us to hang out. And what we do right now, we mostly go to school activities, and we can't do those during the summer. And then we go to Shawnee 3 to 5 times a week to go bowling or just to do whatever we can't do here. And that takes away the money that's going into Seminole. So, and then we mostly hang out in parking lots. And whenever we do go to parking lots, we get noise complaints and we're kicked out most of the time. So that's really the only thing that we can do right now. There are also truck meets, and that normally has about 50 to 100 kids. It just kind of depends. And that's whenever we get most of our noise complaints, because we go to Ace or Walmart or just really anywhere, baseball field. And whenever it's cold, that's also wasting a lot of gas because we're switching between cars and just talking and doing whatever. So if we were to build this, then that would take away from the noise complaints, and it would also bring more money into Seminole.
So what we're asking of you, city council members, is we would like to build an entertainment center. And in that entertainment center, we would like a bowling alley, first of all, because that's what we like to do as teenagers. We, as Ava said, we go to Shawnee, most of us here go to Shawnee 3 to 5 times a week to bowl at Shawnee Bowl or Fire Lake, and that's money that could be going to the city when it's going to Shawnee. And also in the entertainment center, we would like a mini golf course, not only for us to enjoy, but our peers and family, and an arcade, because they're like really fun. It's the arcades bring a lot of money to the city too, cash flow. You know how it is. Okay, bring it over to Paul.
So the entertainment center will keep teens from driving back and forth from Shawnee or Oklahoma City, and it will keep us out of parking lots. It keeps the money local, and will bring revenue to the city, and it will bring more employment to Seminole.
Hello everyone. As you guys know, we are in a very dire situation here. We don't have anything to do. That's all we got. And we have a total of 161,224 people. That's a lot of people. I believe that our entertainment center and family center will attract every single person, because what we have will be special for sure. As you know, Potawatomi and Pontotoc counties also have their own bowling alleys and other such events and other such places, but I believe that our place will be a lot better than theirs. We have something special about it. Thank you.
So when we came up with this idea, one of the most important things is obviously marketing. We need people to participate in this event and the center. We need, and that's not only people inside of Seminole. I'm going to actually go back to this slide. That total right there, 161,224. That's obviously not just Seminole, but that's surrounding areas that, in smaller cities like Wewoka and such, that don't have an entertainment center as well, and also already come to Seminole for things like Walmart and places to eat. But there are also big events that can attract large masses of people to come that need entertainment, that need stuff to do. So this is just a list of some of them: Seminole Nation Days, Sucker Days, Gusher Days, Main Street Halloween, Snowman Wonderland, parades, graduations, tournaments, sporting events, and all kinds of other events that are just held around town that can give people, first of all, a place to go and spend money that would be going into the city, and also keeping people local for buying gas, going out to eat, and keeps the money in Seminole.
Just to kind of build off of what Gabe was saying, we really want to capture, we're looking for how we're going to capture as many visitors as we can. And we have a lot of places around Seminole that already are bringing people into Seminole, not just big events, but regular things like Sportsman's Lake brings 300 to 500 per weekend during prime time season. St. Crispin brings plenty of people. Nomad Animal Encounter is new. It has lots of potential to bring people. Arrow Family Farms, Jasmine Moran Children's Museum. I actually talked to Marcy Donahoe, and she said that not only do people come from Seminole and Shawnee, but people occasionally come from Edmond and Oklahoma City. If we really had something special, we could possibly see that as well for a center. We also have the Seminole State College. I work at the Wellness Center. I know that we would not have near as many customers as we have if we didn't have the college. There's around 2,000 people enrolled. And what I see at the Wellness Center is just the people who want to work out, not the people who are bored sitting in their dorm rooms day in and day out. So we know people are going to come. What we don't know, what I'm going to answer, is how we're going to keep them coming back. That could be tournaments. Tons of people would want to participate in tournaments, leagues. That could be like a weekly, monthly thing that people would continue to come to a center for. Promos or sales, that could be really effective for like, I don't have any specifics, but 75% for like a team or something, Special events, events obviously bring people to the town. Special events could also happen at a center like this. School parties, team building, or for local businesses. So that is the people who will be coming to our center.
Hello, I'm Addison Hill, and I'm here to talk about the locations for our Ideal Center. So we had went over about 5 or 6 different locations, but these are our top 3, and we're going to actually explain them to you. So our first location is going to be the field across from the softball court. It's a central area, and it stays away from neighborhoods so we wouldn't get any noise complaints. And we can build it how we want it from the ground up. So it isn't a flood zone per se, but with the contractors and communicating with our builders, that can be changed over time.
Hi. So the second location we have is 9099, which is beside Brahms. This land is already equipped to build a solid foundation. It's a pro and a con because we would be building from the ground up, so we could build it the way that we want to, but at the same time there's not an existing building there. It is right off of I-40, so that will be a place where a lot of people are coming into town to see the center. And as it is beside Brahms, that's already where a bunch of people in town go to, so it'll catch a lot of business. And it's also in town but far away from neighborhoods, so where it won't cause a noisy distraction.
Alright, so our third location is by the Children's Museum, which attracts families and not just teenagers. So there's also a track in the back for go-karts. You do the drone course, hoverboards, anything you can think of. So the utilities are already established, so we won't have to build from the ground up. We can use what we have there. So like electricity, water, we can keep the building that is standing and use it for an entrance. And I believe the Oil Museum is the perfect location.
All right, how we're planning to pay for this. So the tourism in Seminole gets around $13,000 to $16,000 quarterly and roughly $60,000 a year. This has paid for events such as the 4th of July celebration and Made in Oklahoma, and has even helped with making the facility for the new baseball field at the Seminole State College. Having this new entertainment center would offer families a reason to be staying in Seminole, whether it be in hotels, eating at restaurants, or going to shopping centers or the local attractions. So we would like to suggest that as this new event will increase the tourism around here, if we may acquire the funds from the city's tourism budget. Since over the course of 20 years, it's a 3.5% interest rate, which is the total of $1,242,000.
The largest portion of money we're looking to come from foundations. These can be foundations such as the one that funded the Wellness Center. We're currently looking at Oklahoma's McCannon Foundation, which focuses on children, education, and community development. We are also looking at the National Crescent Foundation, which focuses on American cities, arts, culture, education, environment, health, human services, and social investment practices. These are just two of the many state and national grants and foundations that we can still apply for. We are also looking to create a community match. So this would be a set number that could be raised from the community over a period of time. This could include families and local businesses. We could have designated areas at the city hall, at events. People could donate online, however they feel to contribute to their community and really help raise the money for this facility. An example of this would be Shawnee's YMCA. $5 million was donated in stocks, and they sold those stocks obviously. And the rest of the money was raised from the community, whether it be families, children bringing in birthday money. But over a period of time, they were able to raise $10,000, which was what built their $10 million facility. So, when do we get to start?
I would ask which one of you is going to be mayor. All right, we have some certificates to hand out. Are you going to recommend this to your fellow students for next year? Good.
Do you guys have any questions for us as like the city council about our project or anything?
I think that's pretty impressive. I'm going to tell you, to put that much thought into something at your age is awesome. It really is. I commend you. I do. I think it's awesome.
Man, I've got a grandson that's kind of the head of the 4-H and in the state competition, and I thought he was the only smart kid in Oklahoma. But I'm gonna tell you, you people blew me away. You are so far ahead of me when I was in high school. There's no comparison, and I was really worried about the generation coming up. But man, y'all put that to rest. And y'all can just come up here and sit, and we'll sit down there and listen to y'all. But congrats, man. I was impressed. Thank you.
I'd like to say, first of all, just thank you all for all of the hard work that you put into the research. I know that takes a lot of work and a lot of time and effort. I do hear you. I'm with you. I have a 16-year-old son and a 23-year-old son, and they run up to Shawnee every minute they get free. And as a parent, it worries me because I'm always like, that road from here to Shawnee is dangerous. And so I was like, how do we keep them here? Myself, I grew up here, and I don't know which one of you said it in the video, but it really struck with me personally you said get your education and come back and stay. That really stuck with me. I went to OU, I came back, and I'm staying here, and I'm committed. What is that? I'm tethering myself to this city, good or bad. And what I had seen you all do was you kind of looked at the good and bad. What is the problem, and here's a solution. And I don't, I wish everyone would do that. If you're presenting a problem, present the solution. And you guys went above the solution. You told us how to do it and told us what the obstacles are and gave us the research. I really do hope that there would be at some point, Mayor, a work group that kind of, or a committee that keeps, at least an update on this going. I'm not sure how we keep it going, but I hate for it to end today. So I just like to put that out there if there's a way to kind of keep this momentum going, because once you lose that, I think, it's kind of back to square one to me. And I really appreciate all of you. And I hear you, I heard every word and I felt it. So thank you.
I know this puts a smile on our city manager's face. This is something he's talked about, so you guys did a great job of being able to present that. And so, hopefully so. I might even go into the arcade.
Yeah.
Please.
When I was your age and younger, I grew up in Fort Gibson. It was a small town in northeast Oklahoma. We didn't have a youth center or anything like that, and there was a wonderful person in the community that got us organized. And as I recall, we were collecting like potato chip packages, and we'd get 2 cents a piece from the manufacturer or something like that for each one we turned in that went toward funding the youth center, and we've got it done. So this can be done, and we're going to help you do it. Oh, and plus, in the back, Amy, will you hold up one of those t-shirts, please?
They're over there.
Well, someone hold it up. Those are free. Get one that fits you on the way out. But the youth group gets first shot at it. Okay? Great job. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys again. You guys have been awesome this year, and I've loved working with you. So I look forward to working with the ones that I get to work with next year too. So first up, we have Ava Adams. Colin Frederick. Maya Carter. Gabe Ataya. Carson Dean. Miles Branson. Addison Hill. JC Porter. Ashley Baker. Vanessa Zapata. And Carrie Bernard.
And I'd like to thank you as well. This is something that you guys were trailblazers on this. And this is just going to do nothing but grow. And thank you for being a part of that and contributing your time and efforts. Thank you.
Bravo. If you don't mind, can we give Bree a hand? She really. Fantastic job. I do want to note, we kind of jumped into it, so we have multiple high schools. This is not just Seminole High. Please pass the word. We want to have a much bigger group next year and get these new leaders where they need to be. Bree, how many weeks did they meet?
We met once a month, and I think we met 6 times this last year.
6 weeks, and they toured most of the city departments, so hopefully they had a great experience.
How about sharing what schools you're from?
Seminole and Barnum.
Okay,
2
great.
girls from Barnum, the rest are Seminole.
Okay,
But
great.
we hope to grow next year.
And would someone turn the projector off because it's blinding
Thank you for the keychain and the sticker. Put it on my. Thanks so much. You guys can inspire me.
One more time.
All right, with that, we will move on to remarks and inquiries from the mayor and council members. We'll go to Ward 1, Larry Church.
Okay. Well, as I was saying earlier, I grew up in a small town. And I don't know if anyone's kind of gone over how remarkable Seminole is compared to those small towns in Oklahoma. But years ago, I had occasion to travel to the small towns throughout the state and larger cities too. I was a salesman, and I was selling OSHA, EPA compliance packages to cities and towns. And I would go before the city councils and do a presentation, and there would be almost fist fights and all sorts of things like that. It was some places were really chaotic and not well organized. But since I've been here, I've been extremely impressed with the organization of our city and of the council and the good work that our city manager does. We've had a city manager for 20-some years, the same guy. And he's sought after by other communities and he's chosen to stay with us, and it gives us an advantage when he recruits businesses to come here or spearheads other projects. They have confidence that he'll be here to shepherd it along. And that's really been good for Seminole. We have a large number of manufacturing facilities in Seminole, and we have, 7,500, that's our population. I think the nighttime population is about 7,500 or something like that.
Yes.
And we have infrastructure for about 20,000 when we go to recruit. What I'm trying to say is this is an unusual community. You don't find another place that has a world-class children's museum. And I've been to the one in Boston and other large cities, and ours compares very well. We have, y'all listed all of it, not all of it, but a lot of the great stuff that we have going for us here in Seminole. What we don't have is we don't have, like you pointed out, a good recruitment tool for young people. We need that, and we're going to help y'all develop that. We also need to do things to recruit the people between y'all and us, the millennials. We need to do things that will bring those folks to town to work from their homes and stuff, and we're trying to work on getting some communication networks set up so that people can work from their homes. When I left Fort Gibson, I went to Muskogee. Oh, it's one other thing I want to say before I get to Muskogee. Right now, we have an abundance we have sufficient food at our food pantry. We have a great food pantry, staff of volunteers, and we have food enough that we can offer food to anyone that's a citizen, any household that's within the city limits of Seminole. So if there's someone that you know that could benefit from that, maybe it's a single, I'm sympathetic with single parent families and women and children. That's where I think that we could get the biggest bang for our buck. So if you know someone that doesn't have time to come to the food pantry or is otherwise reluctant to. If you can get them in touch with me, I'll do my level best to see that we can deliver food to them. I can devote one day a week to do that. So back to Muskogee. It was a big town for Fort Gibson, like Shawnee is for Cinnamon. So when I graduated high school, I couldn't wait to move to Muskogee. And so I keep in touch with what's going on with them. What I learned is that in their last meeting, they have passed an ordinance allowing cannabis use in certain areas in the city, in Muskogee. That's an issue that has came up here, and I feel like it is not going to go away. And whatever your position is on medical marijuana, it's here to stay. That's something that we need to pay some attention to and try to not have it pushed down, not have it forced upon us, but figure out ways that we can accept the trend and what's coming and benefit from it. It's not going away from it. I said this when they passed the thing in the state resolution or whatever it was, you know, and there was some of us that wanted to keep dispensaries and so forth outside of the city, and some of you know, so here. And I pointed out then that we can't do that. It's here, and the law says that we can. There are no laws about events that I know of. There may be. I mean, someone in the audience may speak to this more eloquently than I can. But I'm just saying that we need to have an open mind about this and get it settled before it becomes a divisive part of our community. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Daniel.
Thank you, Mayor. So I was sworn in the city council on April 13th. And on April 15th, the city, led by Brianna, I think it was led by you. I think you're the one I was bugging on a Saturday to get the trash bags and everything, so I really appreciate you. Had I'm sorry, it was on the 17th that I did it, but on the 15th, there was a downtown improvement meeting here at the library that Larry and I both attended, and I learned a lot from the downtown business owners about their concerns and need for improvement in the downtown area. So thank you for inviting us and allowing us to hear your concerns and to help be part of the solution. Steve was here and did a great job of presenting some of the things that were already being done and kind of what would next steps be for some of those issues that were highlighted. One of the things that I had noticed was one of the big parts of the discussion was lighting. And literally within days, a week at least, I had noticed that that new lights had been put up downtown. Somebody had posted it on Facebook, so I took a drive downtown and it looked great. So I think just those incremental steps like that really, just inspired me and made me feel really great that I was here and heard that was a concern, and literally within days it was addressed. I know I just came in at the tail end. I know there was a ton of work and a lot of things that had to be done before that, so I just want to thank you, Steve and your team, for doing that, and then for the business owners as well for making that one of your top issues. So sworn in on the 13th. It was really nice of those of you who were there. There was a lot of picture taking. My family got a cake for me, which is really exciting. But by the 17th, that was on a Tuesday, by Saturday, I was literally in a ditch cleaning up trash. So the glamour kind of went away really quickly. And I was literally stuck in a ditch. It was muddy, and I had to crawl out on my hands and feet. But it was great. So my family put together a team, and we collected 7 bags of trash for a Team Miller. And I'm going to do this really quickly because I want to recognize the folks from Ward 1. I'm aware of 3 teams, and if I'm missing anybody, please forgive me. Those are the only ones I was aware of. There might be definitely more. But there were 3 teams from Ward 1. And together, all of those folks collected 51 bags of trash. And not just Ward 1, but throughout the city. 51 bags of trash. And approximately 20 volunteers altogether. So there was Team Miller, and then there was Team Ward 1 that picked up 27 bags of trash. And they were led by Stephanie Davis. It included Stephanie Bruce
Kachaver, yeah.
What,
Yeah.
say that?
Kachaver.
Kachaver, thank you. Elizabeth Dillon, Tony Borba, and John Flovin. And if you all don't mind, can you all stand up if you were here, if you were on those teams? And then there was Team Best Buds that picked up 17 bags of trash. And that was Alicia Jones and her children. My team also had a 2-year-old out there picking up trash. And David Kraus, Tony Bruner, John Flovin again, Stephanie Davis again, Leslie Hanna and her children, Mark Hanna and Earl Jordan. Are you all here as well?
They also distributed water and trash bags. This is Reefer Shack, so they gave us some water.
All right. And then downtown there was, on May 1st, there was a Shades of Braids 5K event hosted by the Indian Health Service and the Seminole Nation Diabetes Program, which I don't have the numbers on how many attended, but just from the pictures, it looked like it was really well attended. And I heard that there were a couple restaurants in the city that were kind of hard to get seats in to get food because all the runners were out eating and hungry after the 5K. Some upcoming events for Ward 1 is the Downtown Benefit Show, Car Show, which is, I'm picking all this up off of social media, so please forgive me if I get it wrong. But I noticed that it was hosted, or at least led in part by Lucid Libra, a handmaid, and Seminole Chamber of Commerce, and a gentleman by the name of Gabriel, or a lady by the name of Gabrielle Vasquez. Did I get that all wrong?
Gentlemen,
thank you. So I want to thank you all for that. I know that the benefits from the car show will go towards downtown improvement as well. And then on upcoming event on May 27th, Chase Park, which is in Ward 1 behind Sonic, a couple streets back. I'm hosting a park revitalization meeting. I briefly met with Bryant Baker to discuss some volunteer requests. So after the cleanup, I had a couple of constituents reach out where, again, kind of like the youth council were excited about the changes that they had seen made just in that week, and we're looking at parks specifically. And they came to me and said, I'll buy paint, I'll clean, what do you want us to do? So I met with Brian over the phone and with Larry and Stephanie, and was talking about a revitalization project at Chase Park. So I definitely want to get that underway. So if anyone else is interested in joining us, please let me know, and I will add you to the invite list for the meeting on the 27th. And then lastly, I have constituent issues and concerns. I received 7 emails regarding the need for support of events and tourism related to the cannabis industry in Seminole. That's really exciting for me as far as having that engagement with the constituents. And I was really excited to see those comments. So thank you for that. I also received another constituent issue about code enforcement responsiveness. 2 locations, specifically 433 North University, and just generally the downtown area regarding vacant homes and businesses. And then, of course, the need for more lights and security and beautification in the downtown area. Of course, the lights, but also too, I just want to kind of finish off on the high note. I also noticed that there were several volunteers downtown, whether they're business owners or folks in the area, who donated flowers and planted them in the downtown area. And I think that just kind of circles back and speaks to what the Youth Council had proposed, is it really does take that commitment to your community to, even if it's a small gesture, like buying some flowers and planting them, or a huge gesture like, building a whole new entertainment center. I think that and everything in between, I think is what's going to, in my opinion, make Ward 1 and the city of Seminole prosper. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Miller, if I
Yes.
could, you said you had 2 addresses for code enforcement. I only got the 433 North University.
That was the only, and the other one was general downtown
Oh, okay.
area. Mhm. Mhm.
Ward 2, John Craig.
Well, thank you guys. You did a great job. Kind of feel like Tim, makes me feel better about the future. And if you need a parking lot to hang out, me and my wife run the Little League baseball and softball fields, and you're more than welcome there anytime. Yeah, I'll show you how to turn them on.
Next quarter's though.
Thank
Ward 2, Eddie Foreman.
I just want to offer my personal thank you to the youth, to the department, youth council. It's often important for somebody to stand up and make the change. That's the only way it ever happens. Thank you.
Ward 3, Tim Pop.
I pretty much said it, and like I said, I'm blown away, but I can tell you, you've been heard, the seed has been planted, and it's our job to fertilize it. So we'll see what we can do. And as you go on in life, and you can see other people, or later have kids, tell them this story. Y'all have made a change in Seminole. I'm proud of every one of you.
Ward 3, Corey Crabtree.
All right, real quick, I won't take too much of your time, but again, youth council, I know a lot of you guys from church, school events. You guys are top notch. So appreciate you guys doing part. I don't know if anybody else noticed, but I was looking out my window the other night and noticed this bright flashing yellow light coming down the street. And I think that's the first time that I've noticed the sweep trucks coming down the road. I guess I've just never paid attention, but I thought that was pretty awesome.
They were spraying.
And were they spraying?
They were spraying out of a street sweeper.
Well, whatever they were doing, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought we were sweeping the street. Whatever. Hey, back to the facilities. I was just there the other night at the softball quad. If you guys don't go down there and don't visit those places, those are some very nice facilities for Seminole. We just do some great things. You guys do a great job keeping up with those facilities. I know my daughter does some volunteer, well, she actually gets paid for that in the concession stand. She really enjoys it, and it's a great attraction for our community. There's a lot of kids who go down there to play ball, so that's awesome. Last but not least, a couple of people in the town that you guys are aware of that have been part of this community. I just want to send our condolences to a couple of families, the families of Kim Brewer, who passed away this week, and also the family of Jim White. If you guys know those people, send your condolences to them. They're longtime Seminole people that have been around here for a long time, and it's sad every time you lose people of your community. So if you guys get a chance, send those condolences to them as well. So, that's all.
Ward 4, Chris Anson and Trace Connor are not here tonight. So I would just like to, again, thank you guys for attending the meetings, taking it serious, putting together a presentation and presenting it. Because they're here. You had the people in your audience to be able to get and to help get something done. So thank you. The other thing is you move forward in life. Cities and towns need people to volunteer for a lot of different roles. From boards to committees, even picking up trash out of the ditch, as we had so many different companies join in and individuals do. It takes everybody to make the city run and to keep it clean and work hard. Because there are those people that don't care. They just don't care. And so for everyone that does care, though, it really helps if you're willing to sacrifice your time and share it with your community to make a difference. So thank you, and hopefully moving forward, you will be a leader, or you'll be volunteering to help in some way as you move forward. Whether it's here, You come back and stay here, or you choose to live somewhere else. Just be part of that community. Thank you. All right, with that, we'll move on with our list of items. Consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Copeland,
Yes.
Cory Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And with no items removed from the consent agenda, I'll ask if we have any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole City Council. And before we start, I would like to remind everyone, if you could keep your comments to 5 minutes, state your name and address, and please come up to the mic so everyone would be able to hear you.
Is there any, like a list of who spoke and what they said? Because I don't know if I could take notes that quickly.
Well, it'll be recorded.
It'll be recorded, okay.
So it should be on the, so is there anyone that has any comments?
I'd rather not be the first one if anybody else would like to go.
Yeah, I will.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. But I'd like to still be in line.
Hello, everyone.
How are you?
My name is Tony Bruna. I'm actually with the Seminole Best Buds. I've volunteered around here for 15 years now, pretty much with the youth. Coach a lot of people's kids, volunteer to help clean up. But today I'm here because we joined in on the cleanup. So I found out that that's like an annual event. And I just want to bring it to front that we need to do that way more often. I generally enjoyed it. We went out, picked up trash in places that probably hasn't been picked up in 10 years. And I like to say that us walking down the road, picking up trash, maybe people coming through will see it and they'll feel a little guilty about throwing something out the windows.
Yeah.
So the more often we get out there, then the better we represent our town, and just extra volunteer help that's for exercise and a little bit of work, and it goes a long ways. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's nobody else. Might as well give it up. So I have packets that I need to hand out so that you guys can reference some of the documents that and facts that I will be kind to share. Okay, you guys have them, I believe, but here's this. Oh, here's this one. This one's marijuana related. That's good. So the first item that you guys will see is this, right? This is going to be regarding code enforcement, and so that is basically all of the documents that pertain to 433 North University. And my name is Stephanie Davis, and I live at 431 North University. Obviously next door to this neglected and abandoned house. So, with that said, let me get back on track, because I know I have a limited amount of time. So, soon after I moved to Seminole, I reached out to code enforcement about an abandoned and neglected property next door with tall grass and weeds. I even brought with me all these documents of the attempts made to garner assistance from code enforcement. And I would like to request that each of you look at those thoroughly and in its entirety. And so, unfortunately, despite being promised by the Community Development Director on July 29th, 2020 via email, which is included in your packet, the property is still overgrown and has tall grass and weeds. I even brought a photo with you that I took at 6 o'clock this evening with the tall grass and weeds still present. Now, I'd like to talk about something a little bit more positive and let you guys process all of the documentation that I gave you. So I want to talk about cannabis events here in the city of Seminole. And I want to talk about why are we not including those events and being inclusive here. One thing we're not asking to do is be able to smoke inside of any municipal buildings, but we would like to support events like the most recent charity golf tournament that was not allowed to have medical marijuana consumption on site, which was an outside event. This event has since been moved to Choctaw, along with all of the tourism that goes along with the event that would have been held in Seminole. Some of their sponsors included well-respected and popular brands in the state of Oklahoma, including multiple award winners that would have brought tourism here simply because of name recognition. Muskogee recently updated their city ordinances to allow medical marijuana events to take place at municipal locations with some exceptions, which I do believe Seminole could put in as well. I have a copy of the article that outlines some of those requirements, and it's in your marijuana packet that you all have copies of, and I'll be happy to share with you guys as well. So here's some reasons why these events are important. First of all, recent studies show that 1 in 10 Oklahomans are registered medical marijuana patients. Those Oklahomans want to be able to enjoy events with their friends just like everyone else, and they want to be able to access their medicine while in attendance. This demographic generates a large amount of sales tax revenue in our state and town. Tourism could bring a lot of tax revenue generation in Seminole, especially with festivals that stretch over a 2-day period so we can get those heads in beds. Also included in your packet is the most recent tax numbers from Oklahoma Tax Commission that have been sent to the city of Seminole. Secondly, medical marijuana patients are currently at a trial and error stage of medicating because of the limited allowances on federal research. There's also different types of medicine and delivery systems that work for some people and not for others. For example, some people lack a specific enzyme to be able to process edibles in their liver to fill any effects. I am one of those people, and edibles do not work on me. And had I not attended an event where a patient educated me about this, I would still be wasting my time, energy, and money on products that just did not work for me, when all I needed was a different delivery method. And I'd also like to point out that although smokable cannabis is not allowed to be used by pediatric patients, I do want to remind everybody that we do have registered pediatric patients that utilize cannabis as medicine. So we should keep that in mind when we're talking about we don't want our kids to see such and such, and think about what kind of those comments say to parents who are watching their kids suffer and utilizing cannabis as medicine. Next, Seminole's population and tourism has been at a steady decline, and we need additional things to attract visitors to our amazing town. Word spreads quickly through the cannabis community, and when event organizers find out that a city is cannabis friendly with their events, we move straight to the top of their list. That's because, unfortunately, the charity event had to move for a second year in a row. And so, unfortunately, we might not get a second chance at that charity event because of that. Now, I'd also like to encourage city leaders to be mindful of the words that are chosen when speaking about cannabis, the cannabis businesses in town, and patients who are valuable members of our city and make significant contributions to Seminole. We do expect our city leaders to be held to a higher standard of compassion and tact when you are in a public forum and when interacting with the citizens that they serve. I would like to encourage city leaders and the council to get more educated on cannabis, because this industry was voted on by 57% of the voters in Oklahoma, 51% of the Seminole County voters, and it's not going away, as you've heard. Our hope is that you will take the steps necessary to build the bridges with your community that you serve and not burn them. Seminole has its issues, just like every other city. Ignoring those problems and having the city spend time working to shame or intimidate those bringing the issues to the forefront is not the appropriate way to handle the situation. The correct response is to do better. We want to brag about Seminole. Let's start having things to brag about, right? So when presented with solutions, work with us that are offering you help to make Seminole better. Do not ignore them. We want to see city leaders working with citizens in town that are providing you innovative ways to increase your revenue without having to increase any labor costs to the city or raising sales tax for the citizens in Seminole. I sit a proposal to our city manager about a month ago. Haven't received any word, but I have gotten a lot of interest from Mod, who is ready to implement my program to increase their city revenue. So this is a call of action to all of you. We want to see the council more involved on a regular basis with their wards. We understand that you're busy people with commitments outside of the council, like family or work commitments in another state. But we want to see real community development and have the city ordinances updated to reflect new booming industries and the ancillary businesses and events that could bring tourism and additional tax revenue to the city. This includes our request for the council to specifically consider amending the ordinances to allow medical marijuana consumption in any form at city parks during outside events. As you all know, Muskogee has already done this, and there's a copy of that link to that article in the packet that I provided you. So, I believe Seminole should follow suit. In future meetings, I will be outlining the benefits of the cannabis plant, as well as highlighting the tax revenue and licensing fees that Seminole has collected since the voters of Oklahoma passed State Question 788. Thank you for your time today, and I look forward to working with all of you as we help be proud of Seminole, help progress Seminole forward, and make all citizens in Seminole prosperous.
Hi there. My name is John Forbin. I live at 431 North University Street here in Seminole. I haven't met too many of you personally. Stephanie's my wife, so we're all very familiar with her at this point. But a little bit about me, I'm an economist by education. I study trends for a living. I work in cybersecurity currently for Sonic down in Bricktown. And so following trends and analyzing data is what I do. So in doing some research on Seminole and everything, I found some trends that were actually quite disturbing, and I'll pass these around for everybody. The first one that you'll see there is first quarter data from the Federal Reserve. What this shows is that money velocity is at all-time lows and it's getting worse. This means that despite the seemingly endless supply of stimulus money being printed, it quite simply is not being spent. Lowest in 20 years. And in fact, it ticked up and then it went back down last quarter. So then the second one that you'll see there, that's worldpopulationreview.com. According to that website, the population of Seminole now has the lowest it has ever been in modern history, and it's declining. In 2021, Seminole's population dipped to 6,889, according to that website. And we're losing population so quickly that the Senate District 28 recently had to be expanded because, and I'll quote Senator Taylor on this, the current district above in the comments doesn't have enough people according to the census estimates. So Senate District 28 had to grow in area. There continues to be a shift in population towards the urban centers, Oklahoma City and Tulsa specifically. That was, to quote Zach Taylor. So to summarize, we now have the least amount of people here spending the least amount of money in modern history. These trends should be alarming for anyone that has a stake in the future of this town. And for this reason and many more, I'm here tonight regarding agenda item number 3. And I want to express my support to allow cannabis consumption in Seminole, including municipal parks. Consumption events could generate revenue in the form of special permit fees, cleaning fees, sales tax revenue, whenever they come into town, tourism basically, in which, by the way, I was reading the 2030 plan, and building tourism is a cornerstone of that plan. So it was a complete head scratcher when I found out that city leadership was discouraging any type of tourism, to be quite honestly, when you take these trends into account. So now onto a positive note, I just wanted to shout out everybody that was involved in the citywide cleanups. We did a great job on all that. We are, as mentioned, we're looking to start doing those on a more routine basis because a lot of us came to realize just how severe the problem is. But on that note, shout out, I have seen a lot of older homes being demolished, so that makes me very happy. So kudos, thank you guys for moving forward and taking care of some of those old abandoned homes. Just some other things coming up. In case anybody wants to help out, Reefer Shack, May 14th and 15th, I believe I have here, will be mowing yards of elderly and disabled who can't do it. those that, I guess, received warnings from code enforcement on those. Shout out to Elite for buying those flowers downtown. Let's see, Code Red did a great fundraiser this event. So really the moral to all this is, like, we can't deny that cannabis is, we're not putting the ketchup back in the bottle. So really we know how to make this thing lucrative for everybody. So we need to start leveraging it. We're not putting the ketchup back in the bottle. And in closing, I just want to say, if the phrase life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness don't include the right to medicate with a plant that was put on this earth by God himself, then the Declaration of Independence isn't worth the hemp that it was written on.
Hi, I'm new here, but I'm not new here. I'm not from here.
If you'd please state your name.
Oh, my name is Dana, D-A-N-A, Andrade, A-N-D-R-A-D-E. I'm a Ward 1, and I live on the corner of 4th and Evans, where all the crazy hippie shit stuff is. I'm here on a couple issues. One, our water department. I have an issue with them. You go into the office, you can't get into the office. They look at you like, who are you and what are you here for? I'm here because my water bill is maybe 3 times the amount it was when I raised not 1, 2, 3, but 4 children by myself on that corner, all graduates from Seminole High School, been coached by some of the best coaches, have done well for themselves. Am I passionate? Yeah, I'm passionate. And you want to know why I'm passionate? Because I've been smoking pot for 15 years. You have all these people here that are good people. These young kids, that's awesome to see. But if y'all don't do something, it's going to get wild and crazy. And we're here. We don't want to go anywhere. We want to contribute. The numbers are astronomically through the roof of what we produce in a dispensary on a daily. Where is that money going? Why is our streets not fixed? You know why we don't have a street sweeper anymore? We can't find it, is word on the street. I live on that corner. You know what? I do not qualify for any Main Street improvements. And you want to know why? Because I live on the wrong side. Ward 1 children are supposed to be statistics. Mine aren't. And I'm a passionate pot smoker, been doing it for years, and had to be quiet. Well, guess what? I don't have to be quiet anymore. And I got people that have some of the same issues with this town. And if you don't do something and you don't make it better, our kids are not staying. 4, 3 do not live here. 1 does, because his mama lives here. Because why? I own my own home. I mind my own business. But you people need to change your way of thinking. Period. That's just my opinion. And it's Dana Andrade. Thank you.
Stephanie Cooper with Farmhouse. My parents opened up Farmhouse 2 years ago. My mom is an avid golfer and loves to do charity work. She decided last year that we would hold our first golf event, raise money for the Youth and Family Services in Shawnee, which is for foster children and parents that aren't doing too hot at the time. They help them out. We raised over $7,000 and gave all that money to them. We did not take a dime. I'm upset to hear that we could not have our golf tournament again this year. We had a blast last year. Nobody got out of hand. We had live music. The guy that runs the course came back and told my parents that was the best golf tournament he's ever witnessed. Nobody was drunk driving a golf cart. No. Everybody was just having a great time. Everybody was chill. And that's one thing I hope people realize. Marijuana chills you. It doesn't make you crazy, doesn't make you want to go get your car and say, I gotta, go get another case of beer just because I ran out of all the beer I just drank. You don't do that. You're chill. You usually end up going to your kitchen and then you go to bed. So I'm upset that we didn't get to have our tournament here because we brought people here to this community. Everybody loved it. People that had never golfed at Jimmy Austin's course were like, oh, wow, this is a pretty nice course. They'd heard things from others that said it wasn't, so that's why they never went there, and they actually enjoyed themselves. Anyway, I wish that we could have done it here this year, and I don't think, even if it was allowed next year, that we would be coming back. And I hate to hear that, but I'm just saying that to you guys. I'm sorry. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Stephanie?
Yes?
I have a question. So the event was held in Seminole last year, because I thought I heard the other Stephanie say it wasn't.
No, it was here last year.
So it was here last year, not this year.
Correct.
Okay, so it was held here, and you raised $7,000.
And gave it to Youth and Family Services in Shawnee because we were supposed to have it in Shawnee. Then the country club completely shut down for COVID reasons, so they said we couldn't have it.
So 100% of the profits, 100% of the profits went to the
Youth
children and
Services
families
in Shawnee.
Okay.
Because we're a Shawnee business, we thought that would happen. But we had already told them we were giving them the money. This year, we were splitting it. Half of the proceeds would go to Seminole and half of it would go to Shawnee.
That was gonna be this year, but then
Correct.
it got canceled.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you, I just wanted to clarify.
Can I just have one clarifying point, really, really quick? United Way.
Please.
Okay. Am I loud enough, Mayor? I apologize.
Well, people are gonna watch it on YouTube.
Yes. Hi. Oh, I just want to clarify that the Shawnee Youth and Resource Center actually has thousands of Seminole families visit them because we don't have the same services available here in Seminole. And Miriam with the United Way came to speak at Rotary and enlightened us on this fact. So that's why, even though it was going to the Seminole Youth Resource Shawnee, Seminole Youth would absolutely benefit from it directly. So thank you for the clarification, Tom.
Okay,
Oh, I'm sorry, one moment.
one quick question. Why did you not have it in Shawnee? Since the money
We
went
were
there.
sorry.
I got her, Mayor.
I believe we were to have it at the Elks, one of the clubs. Fire Lake, thank you. They ended up shutting down COVID reasons. They had too many of their hands had COVID, so they shut the golf course down. So, no.
This year?
It was last year.
Okay. And did you try to go to Shawnee this year?
Yes.
What'd they say?
They said no. Another point that I'm really perturbed about is Herbage magazine just had a big golf, well, it was supposed to be a golf tournament, but it wasn't, thing at the Elks. We were told we couldn't have it at the Elks because we were candidates, but they let Herbage do it there. So I just thought that was discriminatory for one, and then you let somebody else do that.
What is Herbage?
Herbage is a marijuana magazine.
Okay.
But anyway.
Thank you for
you're
answering the
welcome.
question.
Okay, my name is Lee Randall, and I am here for all of these kids. I have a plan. My plan is, instead of them getting a banknote for $60,000, Reefer Shack and I will fund your note. You put your plan two together, come and see Steve and I. Reefer Shack and I, we have you covered for every dollar. So, a lot of people in this room have money to have funds, but nobody is doing anything with it. So, I want to step up, I want to step for it because I have a lot invested in this town. We need the kids, we need the youth, we need people to honestly stay here and not move away just because there's no park or there is nowhere to gather. It's time. It's time. It is like game time. We gotta save the youth. We gotta save the people. So I'm here. I am in 100%. Reefer Shack and I, anytime you're ready, we have the funds. The funds are available as of right now. Okay? All right.
Very good job.
Anyone else?
Can I address that? Okay, I'm sorry. Mr. Randall,
Yes.
thank you.
Oh,
That's,
yes.
that's so inspiring and I'm just shocked right now. I don't know if anybody else is. I don't know what I'm supposed to be feeling, but that is amazing. I don't.
Why though? Nobody should ever be shocked. We all live here, we eat here, we shop here. Okay? So why not give back? I am giving back. Giving back. Reefer Shack, Bumpy Brick Enterprises, we have these kids covered 100%.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Randall.
Okay. All right.
Okay, my name's Heather Haney. I live in Wewoka. I'd rather not give my address. I already have one stalker. I don't want any more. My partner and I are the #3 top rock and roll bar owners in the whole country of Greece. We're looking to establish a cannabis business in Seminole, Oklahoma. I originally was going to move to Muskogee, but I went to the Sorghum Festival in Wewoka and found that everybody was really nice, and I liked everyone there. And so I just wanted to come up here and say that we are interested in establishing a cannabis business in Seminole. We also own Airbnb on an island in Greece, so we're landlords, and we look forward to doing business in a town that is marijuana friendly. Thank you.
Our mayor is a great rock and roller. He's looking for a gig, by the way.
I gave that up years ago. Years ago. Anyone else?
I'm Jackie Deal. I live in Ward 3 in the Guynall Edition, and I'm here actually on behalf of the Arts Council. I feel like the Arts Council could really benefit from a lot of cannabis-friendly events if we could get some more lively events going on in Seminole to bring more youth to the town. We could definitely do more with that in the Arts Council specifically. I am a medical marijuana patient. I was also disappointed to hear about the ordinances preventing the golf tournament from happening. Never golfed in my life, guys, but I was totally gonna golf. I was totally gonna do it. I was telling a guy we were gonna have a team, we were gonna go and do it, just to support Seminole, and then we didn't have that opportunity. And I know there was more people like me who wanted to participate. And the ordinance itself is really simple, I think, and everyone in this room has the ability to make the changes that we need to make Seminole what we need it to be. And I really, really hope that maybe when you do the agenda item #3, consider taking it further than just parks. Why can't we be the most progressive? Why can't we be the most colorful, the most inviting, the best? That's all I got.
Hey guys, Yolanda Ballard. I don't live here, I live in Tecumseh, but my kid does go to school here in Seminole. I work at Farmhouse with Stephanie Cooper. I'm disappointed that we did not have our golf tournament this year here in Seminole. We had some big vendors that were coming, eyeing the town for possible expansion, but they didn't feel welcome, so they're not gonna come to your town anymore. Choctaw opened their arms to us, so that's why we went to that town. I'm a cannabis patient, obviously. I work at a dispensary as well. Just to break the stigma, back in Texas, I lived, born and raised in Texas. Of course, it's still illegal. I used to be a former secretary at an elementary school. My husband is a retired law enforcement from the county, Collin County in Texas. So just to break that stigma that cannabis users look a certain way, act a certain way, don't have jobs.
Here, here.
You know, that's not who we are. We come from different backgrounds. We're here to help everyone who needs it medically. If you guys are more than welcome, come visit us at Farmhouse for education. Any questions that you have dispensary owners here in your town that could educate you. You need to ask them questions about cannabis so that you may understand. It may not be your cup of tea, that's fine. I mean, just here in town, I have to drive my kid to and from school. I don't know how many times I have to drive behind some drunk driver. That's acceptable. That's acceptable here. I almost got hit at the intersection by another drunk driver. That's an everyday thing that I have to fight. Every day when I come into town to drop my kiddo off or pick him up. I can't believe people drink that early in the morning, but they do. Cannabis does not do that to you. Even if I don't drive when I do my medication, my husband does for me, because I know I have to be a responsible adult, especially out in the roadways, so I know my limitations and I will not drive. There's other very responsible medical marijuana users here in town as well, patients. Why do we not get together, and any questions that you guys have, more than welcome to answer, or come to your dispensaries that are here in town and get educated. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have one question, Mayor.
Sure.
Do you have to have a medical card, I was told this, to go in a dispensary?
No.
Do you not?
No.
Not anymore.
Did it used to be when it first came out?
Yes. So Oklahoma is unique insofar, I should go up here.
Save me from calling you out again.
No, it's all good. Trust me, this is my passion and I love talking about cannabis compliance, so anytime. I love giving free advice. So Oklahoma is unique insofar that they do allow CBD to be sold inside of dispensaries along with THC products that have more than 0.3%. So you can go in so that you can purchase rolling papers, bongs, any of that as long as you're 21 and older now. But you do have to have a card to make a transaction with THC that has above 0.3% THC in it.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you for your input. Under approvals and acceptances, resolutions 1, consideration and possible action to approve resolution number 2021-06, a resolution declaring May as Fair Housing Month for the city of Seminole.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Hoffman.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under ordinances, item 2, consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 1255, an ordinance rezoning 611 and 815 West Broadway from C3 Commercial District to I-1 Light Industrial.
This went through the planning commission, they've recommended approval, and so staff is also recommending approval.
What's planned to be there?
A grow house.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Hoffman.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 3, discussion of a possible ordinance regarding public medical marijuana events within the city of Seminole. one of the questions I had from last month that I think was really the issue of why the events canceled was insurance. Do we have any update on insurance coverage?
OMAG is still struggling. We expect that they will have a cannabis exclusion, and they basically have said that much, but as of today, it is not present in our policy.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, just to add one more bit of information. There are cannabis-specific insurance policies for events. And so I can get you in touch with the leading cannabis insurance person who's already confirmed that these sort of events would be covered.
Well, the only thing I would state is the fact that we wouldn't buy that coverage.
Right, no, but you could require the event to carry that coverage with the beneficiary being the city of
But we
Seminole.
still have to make sure.
Sure, absolutely.
In case there's a problem that ours. So that's really, again, as I said last month, that was my main question, was on insurance, because I didn't know. I had no clue. I'm not an expert like Corey, so. I didn't know, so.
You can purchase those, yes.
Okay. So, but OMAG is still
But
reviewing.
that doesn't keep us from being sued, of course, even if they have an insurance policy on an event.
The only thing you do want is no exclusion on the policy. Obviously, if there's an exclusion on the policy, that does not even cover you for legal fees, because the whole thing in itself is excluded. So that's the problem. If you're gonna have an event, I think you just need to make sure that was, I think that's part of the problem here, is that we don't have, and you guys have been very enlightening, I'll tell you that. I have no problem with someone who wants to use marijuana in the correct way. I personally would not. Whether it's against my moral beliefs or not, I wouldn't do it. I'll just tell you that. But I'm not gonna be angry at anybody else who wants to do that. I can't control what everyone else does on their own time. You just can't. But I think part of our problem was with this is that if you're gonna do something like this, you'd almost have to have a permit to where we could check those things out. I mean, that's the thing. Changing a whole city ordinance to just allow it citywide is kind of hard, but understand it's a stair step. If you had a permit that you could apply for, it at least gives us the opportunity to say, where are you having it? Who's doing it? Who's involved? It would give us time to say, okay, this is legit. They've got insurance, we know who's gonna be there, we know what time it is. At least at that point, if I was someone who was not comfortable, did not like it, at least I knew there was an event plan that I could either, one, stay away, and knew that the people of the town were protected. So that's where I come from on this. I don't know that I would just include it full-blown in the city ordinance, but maybe that's again, what you're stair-stepping is what I'm telling you.
I'm saying, it said smoke-friendly to begin with.
Yeah.
Then we got in trouble and we called you and said, we will make it a non-smoke-friendly event, and we still got shut down.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't know. We didn't do that as a council, so I don't know. The city, I don't believe that was the city. Was that?
Well, it wasn't Jimmy Austin, because.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't the city. We just didn't turn that down at the meeting is all I'm saying. I don't know where it got from there, is what I'm saying.
Well, how did it get turned down?
Yeah.
That,
It wasn't the city
I don't know.
council.
It was the city's.
The golf course is leased by other individuals.
She said it wasn't them. It wasn't the golf course.
Yeah, the only discussion the only place we could have said no to that would have been last meeting, and it was not on the agenda. That was just a discussion point, kind of like what this one is. There was no permit applied for, we made no decisions on what could and couldn't happen. The only thing we did talk about is the fact that it is currently a smoke-free facility. That's the only thing that was even discussed. So beyond that, I don't know, is what I'm saying.
So if I could just chime in about smoke-free. Years ago, we being the city council, the city council accepted funds to build our walking trail and the lighting around it and numerous other things from TSET money. In exchange for the TSET money, we were asked to pass strict no smoking on any public facility ordinances. And we did that. as a city, we did that. And so the question that was raised at the community development office is, okay, is this going to be a smoke-free event or not? And when they came back and said, yes, it is going to be smoke-free, we were out. The city nor the city council ever took any action to turn that down.
So what about tinctures and edibles and saps that are non-smokable? Is there something?
Then it becomes an insurance issue. As long as we're covered and we're not liable in
Same with alcohol.
any fashion, then, I think the council will be able to consider it. Until then,
Is alcohol currently allowed at the golf course?
Yeah, can you explain the difference
And so
between
alcohol has more
alcohol
gas.
and marijuana?
No, we're not gonna go into discussion at this meeting. If you have questions, please address that, and we'll get you answers. But this is really for discussion right now, no decisions made, and you're gonna ask some questions that we can't answer that right now anyway, we don't know. Because we'd have to dig into the rules. So before we get in and get a lot of questions, let's kind of go ahead and have our discussion, and if you have specific questions, please present them to our city staff, and that will give us an option to be able to review that and provide answers, because there's a lot of unknown here, and that's why we're doing this, so we'll be able to learn and understand and be able to give a reasonable answer.
Correct answer.
A correct answer? Or correct, okay.
But wait, do we go to the pulpit thing, or do we just yell from our chairs?
this is a council discussion.
Right, yes, this is a council discussion at this point. We had open mic earlier, so you could ask questions. So this is really us kind of debating this issue and talking about it.
So Mayor, question. So if Dana wanted to hold a cannabis event today in the city, what is the first step I take? Because you said if the golf course was leased to a third party, do I go to them or do I petition the city? Where do I begin?
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're going to hold a golf tournament, you would address that with the golf course.
With the golf course?
With the
Okay.
golf, yes.
Okay.
And the
Unless,
question- yes.
unless it's a smoking event, and then we have to change the ordinance to allow smoking. Then we need direction from you guys as a staff to go find cannabis insurance to cover that.
And that's because of our agreement with TSET.
Yes, the ordinances were brought forth from the agreement with TSET. If you retract that, I don't know what the clawback will be from TSET. I don't know the answer to that. I can check on that. I just need direction from the city council on what you want me to do. If you want me to make smoking events eligible on certain public property, then we can start setting the things in motion that are required to do so. And that's kind of why it's on the agenda for you guys to talk about.
So do we need to propose a committee to look at this, or is that something that your office can do on its own? I mean, I know you're busy, blah, 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 it looks like there's a lot of unknowns. The TSET money, if that could get cleared up, looks like that would advance it quite a bit. So do we need a committee to look into this, or for next time, or are we happy with just?
We always serve at your pleasure. If you want a committee, we're tickled to have you involved. However, the staff is more than capable, if you direct us to do things.
That's what I want to know right there.
Yes, sir. If you tell us you want an ordinance change, you want to be able to have these events, then the staff can start the motions to make that impact.
Well, my experience with marijuana began when I was in the Army. Well, before that, I knew a guy that I knew smoked marijuana, but I never seen him do it. And his girlfriend, I know she smoked too. Okay. So I get into the Army, everybody comes back from mom.
Is this going to be G-rated?
No. That was in the boozers section of the barracks, the G-rated stuff. People would come back, we had like two groups in the barracks. There was the juicers and the heads. Juicers go downtown, get drunk, come back, start a fight. They just what they did, rowdy and stuff like that. Pot smokers gather up in somebody's room, listen to music, talk about whatever they were talking about, mellow it out, nice time, a lot more interesting to be around. I wasn't smoking then, I didn't smoke any of it till I got out of the Army. My buddy came home from Nam. I knew he had to be smoking weed. And he passed a joint over to me. First time I ever smoked it. I was probably 22 years old. And it didn't make me want to rape babies and kill old people and do hard drugs. So Richard Nixon started the war on drugs and the reefer madness stuff. He put together a commission, a bipartisan commission, to look at how to classify drugs in the United States. They came back and said, there's no reason in the world marijuana should be classified with heroin and other hard drugs. And of course he needed votes. And he came back and said, well, you know, the commission says this about marijuana, but what we need to do is use a little common sense. And so it got classified and people started going to prison, and I mean, it just, you know, the war on drugs started, reefer madness was shown in all the schools, and the older generation of World War II vets is who raised my generation. They were sure that anyone that smoked weed was going to end up on hard drugs. I mean, that's what they were telling me, Larry, stay away from me. Marijuana, you know. And we all knew that that wasn't true. But what has happened is we have a situation where alcohol is legal at the golf course. Smoking marijuana may or may not be. And probably not. So it's given the choice, from my experience, I'd rather alcohol be illegal at the golf course and marijuana be legal if it's going to be one way or the other. But it's a whole better deal.
I have a suggestion real quick. I think that this is probably, try not to make anybody mad or upset. I think that we'd be better off to do a committee and get some leaders who are on both sides of the end, someone who is very knowledgeable about the business, okay? Get someone else who maybe is a conservative that doesn't feel this is necessary, plus a couple other people, and you guys meet a common ground. I'm a compromise person. I'm not one it's my way or the highway, even though we as humans think that way. I think we need to I think a committee is the way to go. I don't think that any decision you're gonna make here tonight is gonna make everybody happy. But I think if you took a little bit of time and looked at it as a whole, again, it's not something that I like. I won't ever do it. It's just me. But for other people, if the medical benefits are where they are, I don't know that. I wouldn't know that. And I'm not trying to sound dumb. I just don't. I'm not part of the community. That's just me. But I think that maybe we can come up with a good compromise, but I don't think it's going to happen in a council meeting, to be honest with you. But we're stair-stepping. You know, you can't jump all in sometimes, and it's scary because if you jump all in, someone's going to end up mad. Either someone on the other side of the table is going to end up upset. So I think I'd rather have the committee meet a couple times and just kind of hash that out versus trying to change an ordinance and trying to make something happen tonight. That's my personal opinion. Because that's not a no. Again, it's not a yes, it's not a no, but you got to start somewhere. Here's the thing, if it's outlawed, you know there are people that don't have medical cards that use. Okay, that's a given. Okay, that's just part of it. But if people are going to use, I'd rather there be a law put in place that says, here's where you can and can't use it, here's where we're okay with it, here's where we're not. But you know, at least if we had something put in place that says, I want to apply for a permit, I know what's going on. If my family doesn't agree with that, we will steer clear of that. But at least we know what's going on, and you don't have to worry about whether I show up at a place that's, people are smoking and I don't want to be there.
Right.
I just think you need to know what's going on, that's all. So
Mayor.
that's my 2 cents.
Sounds like probably what we need to do is take the Muskogee ordinance as a starter, look at that ordinance, see what they've done. It obviously is, they've got pretty good basis to start something like that, and we can go, we've done that many, many times on other ordinances, so that's probably what I would recommend, whether we have a committee or not. But, and I think all the businesses agree, you know, the last thing we want to do, I mean, businesses, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, you can't advertise to promote overconsumption, and there's strict rules. There's rules that prohibit that. Advertising in such a way, I think, what to promote that has curative effects or something of that nature, therapeutic effects, whatever it is. So whatever we do, it needs to be, as Corey said, a way that both the city and these businesses understand that, look, if this is going to be a community effort, then we need to come up with an ordinance that meets, that everybody agrees with and supports. I mean, we don't want children out there, right? I mean, pulling the, you know, doing things illegally or things like that. That's not the purpose of it. So there's an enforcement issue that as the city we have to look at. When we've got liability issues, you do, the businesses do, the citizens do, and that's what is important here. You know, if we do this right, then it can work. But if you try to ramrod it in such a way, it's not going to work. We've got to do it incrementally. And just as I think Stephanie or whoever was said, you know, let's face it, 1 out of every 2 people didn't vote for this, okay? So you have to take that in consideration too. Yes, the city leadership, you're the ones that are going to have to make the policy, okay? But it's going to have to be a policy that's responsible enough to hold people accountable.
Correct.
Okay, and that's the big issue that you're going to have to deal with. That's the most important thing. If we get a good law and put it in place, and it's you know, I'm not saying every law is easy to read. There a lot of them are not, but if there's a mutual understanding as to, hey, you know what, businesses understand, they're going to enforce and do their part. City's going to do their part. We've got a way to do it. We can probably make it happen. I mean, smoking in public right now, you know, I mean, there's a new law, right? I mean, tobacco, I mean, we use medical marijuana is supposed to be the same as tobacco, right? Yes. Except there's all these exceptions, right? So we have to go through and look at all of them. So there's a lot of nuances to these laws, and they're new. So that would be my suggestion. Start with Muskogee. Let's look at it, see what we need to do, and then that will probably, hopefully, elevate this and get it to where it needs to be for at least you to consider.
Well, what I hear them asking for is just what y'all described, Corey, and is how can we do this? And it'd be legal, and we'd be insured and covered and that sort of stuff. So I would like to ask the audience, do you want a committee, or can we report back at the next meeting about what we've discovered on the
Personally, I think we've got some homework to do. I don't think that you can just pick a couple of people to come back and report, because we've got a lot of people.
I'm talking about, he said his staff is more than adequate to find out about insurance and the piece of it.
Yeah, there's gotta be steps though. They have to find those out, and then we've gotta look at what law Muskogee passed. And then from there, I think we would build probably a team committee to look at those things, and then to come back with a plan. What would be presented to the council.
I'm not opposed to that at all. I'm not saying that. What I want to do is walk out of here tonight with the council satisfied, and the people who are proponents of these kinds of activities satisfied that we're going in the right direction? That's what I'm asking.
Mr. Mayor, may I? What happens now if Mothers Against Drunk Driving want to hold an event in Seminole?
We hope they raise lots of money to save people.
We typically would allow Mothers Against Drunk Driving to have an event.
My point is, I'm going to have a little bit of trouble if I adopt an ordinance that's industry specific. I think if we have an ordinance that says how somebody goes about having an event in Seminole, it ought to apply across the board to every organization.
I like That's the way the state law is with smoking, tobacco and marijuana. I mean, it's generally applicable across, except the legislature has allowed cities and municipalities to basically, they have the discretion to ban any type of smoking on public properties. That was done specifically from the legislature standpoint after the Attorney General's opinion came out. That was almost automatic because of the backlash. So, if that helps any.
I was just wondering, do people not smoke at the golf course now?
I'm not a smoker and I'm not a drinker, but that is always, going to the golf course.
Cigars galore.
Yeah, and
everywhere.
cigarettes, all the, no.
Tim, you had a question?
Yeah, we pretty much beat this thing up, and I agree, you guys, thank you for coming, and I really don't think there's anybody here that is really concerned about right and wrong. It's really about when we sit behind this little circle, half circle here, we're not here to represent what we think or what we feel or how we were brought up or whether it's against my religion. We're here as a council to represent the people in our ward. So I don't have anything problems with it, but what I have to look at, and every person here has to look at, is the responsibility to the citizens of Seminole, because that's what we were elected to do, to stand up for their rights. Now, my phone was blowed up by emails that all of us were getting about the pro-cannabis, which that's great. I mean, you guys are taking a stand, you're showing up, you're doing good work. I went out, just like, this is very controversial, just like the masks were. We had a big blow up about the mask. It was controversial. We all had our opinions about it. I went out and talked to the people in my ward because that's where I represent. And it was kind of about 50-50, just like everything else was. I did the same thing with this because I knew it was going to be controversial, and it's not up to me to vote the way I think it's to be. It's about the people. I talked to 23 people, ages from 16 to, my wife was one of them, she was 77.
Oh, boy, you shouldn't have done that.
She might be a user. She has medical problems.
No, I'm talking about age.
No, it's all right. She's proud of it because she don't look. But anyway, let's get out of that.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. You made me lost my train of thought.
Yeah, you still
I
have
just
to go
want
home.
y'all to know that we're here because we have a responsibility. I think that we can work on it and come to some kind of conclusion. I just don't want to make a decision that's going to get the city in a lot of problems. The first time we talked about this, we talked about really the concern was the liability that the city was going to get in. And we didn't want to have to, we're trying to save money to spend things that keeps everything going in the city. We don't want to have to get a bunch of attorneys to fight something because the cannabis people are bringing suit against us because we're not doing what the state recommends. My start at the first of it was, let's do what the state does. We're protected by the state laws, and that's kind of where I left it. But it's kind of gone into the municipality side of it, and that's where we're all hung up at. But I think that I like the idea. I don't know if we need a committee or not, but we need to to look into it and come up with some guidelines, because I think the deal can be worked out. There's too many people on both sides. You gotta remember, there was only 1 out of 10 that has a medical card. We have another 9 people there that we have to represent too. So we have to think about those also. And it's hard, it's really hard to make friends back there behind this, because we have to make decisions, and not everybody's happy with the decisions that we make. But I promise you, on this end of it, we're trying our best to look out for the city of Seminole. But thank everyone for coming and sharing your time and all that. And let's just keep digging on it till we work something out, okay?
Okay, so from what I've heard, Steve, is that we need some clarification. TSET insurance, you're gonna review the Muskogee law. And then based on that, we would look at moving forward with getting a committee together.
Mayor, can I add something? So I would also, when I was talking about processes earlier, and I'm still a little bit confused, and it sounds like maybe we all are. How do we prevent this from happening again as far as the process? From what I understand, either one person or the golf course made a unilateral decision without leadership input to deny a whole event that could have brought in tourism dollars for the city for that day, that could have brought in donations for children and families for that day. And so as a community leader, I'm a little concerned that either one person or through our lease, through a third party, made that decision on behalf of the city. So if there's a way we can look at a process where we can tighten that up for these controversial issues, where leadership is not caught off guard, because at the end of the day, we're the ones holding the stick. We're the ones who have to answer to our constituents on what happened. And I was caught off guard because the last I had heard was the last meeting, and the only concern was insurance, and then there was it seemed like there was a lot more that happened since that leadership was not involved in. So if there's a way we can look at that process and tighten it up, I don't know how you do that, but I would recommend that also.
Well, I think, again, we're unsure what happened.
Mhm.
I don't know if they took a look at their insurance and found out that that's not covered, and they decided to stop or not. I think the question is, is that part of an agreement? I think what you're saying, part of the contract, but what do you label it as? I mean, is it, because they're really running their own business?
Right.
You're right, it does have an effect, if it's true, it can have an effect on the city. And so that could be a little tough, because what are you gonna call out? I mean, the specifics is where it's really gonna be difficult to do, but I think that's something we can probably talk about a little more and maybe understand what we would be talking about. I don't know what they'd do if they came to us and would have said, what would we do? I mean, it would be a council meeting. It probably would have, well, maybe, yeah, it could have been.
I think it goes along with many firsts with cannabis. This is the first event that maybe Wynn had gotten word of or gotten out of. Maybe we didn't know about the one last year, I don't know. I don't remember that at all. But the thing is, I think it's just one of many firsts, and when you have first, there's always issues. I mean, it's a learning process. So, but all the more reason why we can take time to look at this, determine what the best method of going about this is, so.
So we're gonna have a report back like next month on this, or they'll look at it and.
Yeah, I think we'd want to have another agenda item.
Before.
It's probably going to be along the same lines as what we had this time, unless there's something that decisions need to be made on. And we can play that at time as we get closer to the meeting.
Can add an agenda item just to look at what the ordinance does, what they allow, what other cities may allow, and maybe form the committee at that point. That way you kind of on track.
Mayor, do you envision the committee will be made up of city council members? If that changes, I need to add action if it's going to be you appointing a committee full of council members rather than you forming a committee of citizens.
I think it would be probably a mixture of some council members and
Okay.
the public and either business owners or advisors or some form thereof.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Okay. We'll move on to current business. Item 4, consideration and possible action to approve a possible street closure from Main and Broadway south to Osage on May 15, 2021 for the Downtown District Car Show.
Are they gonna smoke cigarettes there? I'm just kidding, Just kidding. I move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 5, consideration and possible action to waive fees for garage sales for the citywide garage sale weekend scheduled for June 3rd through the 5th.
Move its approval, I got a lot, John.
Second that.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 6, consideration and possible action to approve the 2021-2022 Seminole County Detention Facility Agreement for inmate housing at a per-day charge of $67.54, an increase of $34.68 over the previous daily rate of $32.68.
Do we have an option?
I alluded to that the last time that came up about, last time we discussed it, I guess it was the tax that they're trying to pass, and that they do charge a daily fee for inmates, but they charge that directly to the inmates or the city. I'm not sure, because they sent me a bill when I was there. I was just passing through. They were very hospitable. They gave me a choice. I could be in a cell by myself, or I could be with a bunch of other inmates, and I chose to get the socks if you go. Be sure and ask for socks when you're over and your feet get cold. But what happens with this is the inmates get billed, and they can't pay. So when they can't pay, then they go back, they pick them up for not paying their, and whatever. So, if they can't pay, then the city has to pick that up, or does the city pay that much up front? I'm asking, I don't know.
The city gets billed by the jail, and then we have to try to collect.
So we end up trying to collect instead of, okay, because I'm used to working with the mental health court, and that's it.
No, we get billed.
So we get billed, and so we'll have to collect that, which means, what happens with collections, Jay? You're a good person on that.
We budget the full amount of the expense, and then the collections just go into the general fund if we collect them. But you are correct, generally, we have trouble collecting.
Yeah. They don't have the money.
Right.
So this is a fine to the city, basically.
Correct.
Because we did not, because we were against someone's got to pay the tab. That's what I'm saying.
That's a good question, though. Is this for everybody or just Seminole?
This is for everyone.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, then
There's
they're not
been
just
a-
mad at us, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's been a lot of
I like that.
A youth center / prison
Yeah.
coming in the building.
There's been a lot of discussion among the city managers. We've made requests that have been included in part of the agreement that was in your package. For example, we want video evidence of the damages that they are going to charge us. We don't want a county inmate tearing out the sprinkler system and then them send us a bill because it's a city inmate. we need to know, we need to be able to see that it was a city inmate.
Well, it looks like that could fall under their supervision or management of the, we're paying them 60, I don't know what kind of options we'd have, but if we're gonna pay them $67.54 a day to supervise these inmates, and the inmates tear up stuff, I don't see how we can be liable for that. Because we're paying the fee already. Are we liable for that?
Yeah, they're still considered our inmate. Yeah, think of it in terms of a medical incident. If we have put someone there on city charges, and they have a medical event, we might be on the hook for that. So I think this would be similar to that. I need to mention, Mayor, that we got a late notice from Shannon Smith that they are going to be amending 7D of what was in your packet to say the client is City of Seminole, shall be notified immediately of damages done by the inmate and actual cost of repairs within 5 days. So they're going to notify us immediately in 5 days.
I have a question. Is there an opportunity to cap the rate? To say, we're gonna pay $67, but that's it? Would that be looking at our contract with them, the language, and saying that's a capitation payment, nothing more?
So I sent an inquiry to the assistant district attorney, basically saying if you're going to set a minimum of $100, then you need to cap it at what the county's rate, their deductible is. So anything over that deductible would, they would just turn it in on insurance.
Right.
And then I was informed that the deductible was $10,000. So it's a contractual agreement. It's whether or not.
Just so I can clarify, were you asking about the damages, or were you asking about the $67 being
Well, it's
capped?
both. So if we're paying $67, that there's kind of this kind of perpetual open window for us to just keep paying even more. Where is the safety for the city to be able to say, and to budget and say, this is as far as we go for a capitation payment? Maybe we can come up with a methodology for our own rate and say, somehow, I don't know if we have the ability to do that, but could we say $30 and that, or I don't know, 67, whatever is
Where did Lee Randall go? We need some more money.
We need some more money.
Part of the problem is, this is the contract they have sent us. And so if we don't agree with it and we want to make changes, they can just say we're not going to do it. And then we're kind of stuck with what we do with our.
So,
how many people do we have in jail over a month's time?
Great question.
A lot.
Well, how many is that?
No, our total expenditure last year was about $3,500. I would say for an entire year, you'd be looking at these rates around 10,000 or less.
Oh, well, okay.
So it's not a huge expenditure. So, but I want to answer your question directly. So we can shop. For example, we can go to Pontotoc County or Hughes County or anywhere to shop rates, and we have done that. This is not out of line tremendously with what others are charging. So if they go to, let's say they go to $120 a day, no, we can find something much cheaper than that.
So we're basically talking about an annual expenditure of 10 grand, something like that.
With the increase.
Check me, John, is that about, you're feeling comfortable at this rate that we would spend 10,000-ish or less?
I would say we're off to spend less than 10,000.
Yeah, well,
I'm good.
And are already familiar with the system and process, the people, all that stuff, so I say let's do it.
But to be clear, the 10,000 is for the fees, not for the incidental, like if there's damages and stuff.
Right.
It's 10,000, but it could be I mean, it could be, I think that's my concern, is it's 10,000, but it could be at any given day, $1 million. Like, do we add a cap in there? I think is my concern.
Well, it'd be, I guess the insurance is $10,000 per incident, so, you're right, I mean, it could be 10 incidents.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what they can damage for $10,000.
What's the incentive for them to control a prison? I mean, really? Just go in there and
There's
do what you
not,
want.
there's not. We need a new door, go bust that one, and we'll charge the city of Seminole.
Go ahead, kick it. It needs to be
Yeah.
replaced.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's that calculated.
I hope it is.
It just costs a lot to put people in jail overall, that's all there is to it. The staff is understaffed and underpaid, and, I mean, I know that. It's,
So there is an
somewhere around
option, and that is that the city can accept this contract contingent upon there being an amendment,
Per
modification.
incident, per damage incident, capped at
Up
10,000.
to 10,000, which would get them to their deductible. Anything over that, the county would have to file a claim on. They would be liable for it.
And they had, by this, they have to provide video evidence that it was our prisoner. We just don't have that many, frankly.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Realize we're talking about, you know, I don't know if anybody's ever seen those. I've had, fortunately, an opportunity to go in there when meeting the client. We're talking concrete cell. There's not much in there to damage. I mean, I don't know where they would get $10,000, but it's not very hospitable for us.
I'd have to start a fire or something.
I guess it could happen.
I could have.
Yes, Steve?
Just a reminder, we want to add that 7D clause in that the sheriff sent us late. Do you want me to read that back to you?
Well, we'll need a motion. And I
Okay.
think then you can add that to it if it's gonna be accepted.
I don't know how to state a motion.
So-
So give us an idea about what a motion should look like, right? Yeah,
Basically, the motion would be to accept the contract as written with the addition of the proposed amendment that was recently sent to us to paragraph 7D, which will add, quote, "A client will be notified immediately of damage done by their inmate and actual cost of repairs within 5 working days." We would add that in there, as well as a provision that would cap a per incident damage incident, I guess, or whatever, at $10,000, which is the county's deductible.
Well, I'll make that motion.
Second.
As soon as you finish writing, you do roll call.
We've got it recorded, so
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 7, consideration and possible action to approve the use of the community center by the Family Resource Center's youth summer camp from June 5th through July 15th, Monday through Thursday, at a reduced daily rate plus a cash security deposit. And in here, it didn't give a specific dollar amount. I believe it was $75.
Do you remember the total?
$75 is the daily amount now.
Oh,
What
that's a
did they
regular
pay
rate.
last?
800 with the pool.
800 total,
With the pool.
but they got the pool.
Okay, so we're looking at a reduced rate from $75 since there is that correct?
The $75 is what we charge everyone on a daily rate.
Mhm.
What we'd done, the last time they had it, we gave them, how many weeks? It was over
5 weeks, 4 days a week, 3 days a week.
5 weeks, 3 days a week, and we gave them use of the pool and the community room for $800. So now that the pool is out of order, we're asking you to set a rate for us. It could be as much as $75 per day, but they're asking for a reduced rate for 5 weeks, 3 days a week.
4 days a week.
It's 4 days a week now, excuse me.
So from reading what was provided, Also asking for a cash security deposit because of some incidents that have happened in the past, because of damages, is that correct? And that to be paid up front, so that's part of the request. So we'd be looking for a motion for some rate.
So, can you ask me what, I'm not good at math. What was it before? $75 at what?
It was $800 total.
$800 total.
For 5 weeks and 3 days a week.
So 5 weeks and 3 days a week.
15 days total with the use of pool for $800.
So they got the pool and the wellness center, so.
Community center.
Okay, community center, I'm sorry. Okay, got it. And now they don't have the pool.
Right.
Now they just want the community center.
Right.
I would propose, since it's half of what they normally got, could we just slash the price in half? $400.
400 with the.
deposit. You're talking about deposit as well.
Well, then the request was from
Staff. Staff would like to
is
have a
cash
security
deposit,
deposit.
security deposit because of damages that have occurred in the past.
I don't have a problem with that. You just want an amount?
But it needs to be a number tied to it.
What was the damage and what did it cost? Do you remember? Or it doesn't matter, what does it cost? Let's put it that way. What did it cost us to repair it?
About $200.
So you think $200 deposit, cash deposit?
Yep. That'll work. 200 plus 400. And then the 200 will be returned back to them.
We would need a motion for that, though. We haven't had a motion yet.
I make a motion. Exactly what he said.
Second.
You make a motion?
That's okay. I'll try next time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know
Oh,
that.
You're taking
I
the
cut that
whole
Did you get the motion in a second?
Several times.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin. Yes, I think. Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Cracker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 8, discussion regarding code enforcement activities over the past year.
Ready. So, we hear the outcries for code enforcement. I think it's important for you all as our bosses to know what we're doing. And so I've asked Sharon to put together a little presentation. And I think you guys are gonna be impressed, at least I hope so. And let's kick this off. Do you need my laser pointer? I left it at the office. You got something that... Here we go. Sean, help us zoom that in, can you, real quick? Who want the... So, we wanted you guys to know kind of what it takes to get us to a point where we get to enter private property and take care of the situation, or whether it goes to court and is adjudicated by Colonel Carter here and the judge. So there are a lot of moving parts, and I know it's very frustrating for property owners that don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but we certainly want those people and particularly the council to understand that we're taking these actions. So once we are contacted, let's go back over, Sharon, let's go back over and kind of walk them through. We get the citizen complaint, we take, our people go out, code enforcement officer goes out, and he or she writes a warning letter and tells them, hey, we need to get this cleaned up. So if we go back in 7 days, it's not cleaned up, then the citation's issued and it goes to Brad. And then Brad takes it to a docket, and that'll take about 30 days, and they either pay the fine or they declare that they're not guilty and they go to trial. If they're not guilty, usually it never gets to this point, but if they are guilty, then the fine's assessed and the action's taken. So now let's go back up to the abatement process. This happens a lot. And let me say before we get into this that the limiting factor here is money, okay? So we only budget so much every year to go into abatements. And that includes both mowing and tearing down structures. Hopefully you've noticed a lot of structures that we have torn down. We go through this abatement process very often, and I don't recall exactly, but even in the COVID year, we ran out of money in January or February of abatement money. So money is the limiting factor. And if we can't go mow, if we don't have the money to hire the contractor to go mow, unless the reefer shack says, hey, we got this. So that's kind of where we're stuck, and that's why there's a lot of frustration from people like Stephanie and saying that, hey, I took a picture at 6 a.m. this morning and this still not mowed. What are you going to do about it? Well, it's about money. We don't have the money. We haven't had the money since February, but let me continue with the process. So back up just a hair. So we gave them the warning letter. There's been no contact. We can't find the owner, for example, or their absentee owner. Then we start to go through the abatement process for mowing, or there's two different processes. One's for building, one's for mowing. We post on their door, right? The door is a notice to abate. We're giving you warning, hey, we're going to come, and if we have to take action and spend our money, we're going to file a lien against your property. Okay? So we post that on the door. In the case of housing, we give them 30 days because that's much more severe. We're about to tear down your house if you don't do something, and that's obviously a fairly big asset to most people. So in the case of mowing, we bid for contractors. That takes 15 days, and then we declare the nuisance, and then we go and we mow. They have an opportunity to appeal to the city council. In the case of the house, we'll go through an abatement hearing. We bid for contractors to tear that house down. We declare it a nuisance, and then the abatement happens after that. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think you guys gave me the authority a couple of years ago to sign that abatement nuisance rather than bring it back to the council, because 100 times out of 100, we're talking about an owner in Arizona that has inherited it and they don't care. So one of the questions that you'll probably have, we'll try to answer, hopefully Brad will chime in, is about the lien. So when we file a lien against that property, how long does it stay on? How do we get paid eventually? And so I'm going to let Brad kind of walk us through that.
Right. So just remember this, as you're going through this process, when you see those things up there, the time frame, 7 to 10 days, 30 days, that's the minimum usually, I mean, by the state statute or by our code of ordinances. Many times you can't get service on these people. Okay, they don't live here. They don't have they're living out of state, or they're passed away. So we have to go through alternative means to make sure that notice is given. This takes sometimes longer, and sometimes it's almost impossible. We have to publish sometimes to try to find the owner. So as we move through the abatement process, we have particular like just phases that we have to go through. This is all, again, by our statute or by our ordinance. You have to follow those steps. If you don't follow those steps, that's where we get into liability issues. Because inevitably, if somebody comes in and says, well, you didn't send me notice, you came on my property and you did this and did that. By the way, where is this at? I had this big set, this shed here, and it had a 1959, Corvette in it. And where's this at now? Well, there wasn't anything there. I mean, it's crazy what I've heard. So we have to go through all this process. As far as the lien is concerned, this is what we have faced. You guys have heard it now for umpteen times. So the good news is that once we mow or once we take down a dilapidated structure or make whatever corrections that we need to make, okay, we have 120 days to place a lien on the property now. The good news is that unlike before, that lien would expire in 1 year, okay? So we don't have to do that. When we're, as a municipality, we can now, that lien will stay in effect. Okay, now, what happens? How do we collect our money? Well, that means that if we want to collect that $300 lien on a mowing cost that you've paid for, we have to go file a district court action to foreclose on that lien. Okay? If somebody lives there, it's a homestead. It's exempt. You can't foreclose on it. Okay? If you want to foreclose on it and say the house is there or something, and we want to get our money back, okay, fork over the filing fee. It's about $300. Plus you'll have to go through with the publication expenses and the service expenses, okay? You're going to be way upside down, and let's say you get a judgment by default. Okay, now what? Now you got to go collect. Now you're into $300 and another $5 or $6, okay? And that's just in costs. So it's a never-ending cycle of throwing, or rolling the dice to see if you're going to collect. Now, once a lien is on there, though, it goes on the tax rolls. So if that property owner pays the taxes, most of the time they don't. If they pay the taxes, that lien is assessed as part of their taxes. They pay it. Well, guess what? County treasurer sends us our $300 back. Okay? We don't get, we get our costs, the $10 to file a lien. I don't think I have ever seen that in 26 or 20 some odd years of practicing law where I've seen that happen. Because no one pays their taxes. Then what happens? Well, it goes up for a tax sale eventually. Guess what? That lien is extinguished. We'll never get it there. Because somebody will come in at a tax sale, published in the producer, hey, let's buy this piece of property. And you buy it for, whatever the tax amount, the taxes that are owed, and you may or may not get your lien money back. So that's a real difficulty with those liens. We can file the liens, and if it's on something like maybe a building that has a lot of value, and the property owner, it has some value to it, maybe we'll get our money back. We probably would. But if it's like a vacant lot or something, it's not going to happen. I don't think I've ever seen it happen.
So I just want to cabbage on to something that Brad said regarding following the process. Some new faces, you guys may not recall that we actually were sued for getting off of an easement where we believed that we were doing them a favor and knocked down some cedar trees that were choking everyone. Those trees were valued by an arborist, and the court rules that because you damaged private property, it's treble damage, or 3 times the value of what they said. And we ended up paying $80,000. for cedar trees. So, so we're very careful, to put it mildly. We're very careful that we're following this to a T, because we don't want to, if we hit somebody's blue bonnets, we could be in big trouble.
I might say one other thing though too.
Yeah.
One of the things that you probably don't see, we have lots of these procedures that have occurred. They've already been concluded as far as the abatements that have been ordered. And they're sitting there waiting for funding. I mean, it's just not there. It's not like they're not being done. I mean, there's stacks of them where you got it. It's already been done. We've gone through the process, but there's just not enough to, you just have to prioritize these things. And so it's tough.
I'd just like to add that on the mowing process, the clock restarts every year. So from the time we get the complaint in the beginning of the growing season, we go out, we check it. If it's more than 12 inches tall, that's when the clock starts. When the mowing season ends and there's no activity for 6 months, the abatement process stops and we have to start the entire process over again every year.
Now, is that because of what we've set up, or is that a state law?
This is what we follow. Several years ago, we looked at Norman's ordinances on how they do their abatements, and we actually put a committee together to talk about it. And the committee decided that this is what we needed to follow. So this is actually in our ordinance that if the property, if nothing is done to the property for 6 months, the abatement for mowing stops and is done, and we have to start the entire process again when mowing season starts.
So that's something we could look at and change that, which would allow you to continue that.
Norman's is honestly, it's a very good ordinance. One of the reasons that it was chosen was once a property was entered onto to mow, that automatically, just from doing that, gave the city the right to go back on there and mow it again without having to go through all the hoops. I mean, it was just like, okay, you're on notice, property owner. We mowed your lawn. We're putting a lien on it, and we're not going through the. You're not going to get notice this next time. We're going on and we're going to mow it. So you better mow it. You're going to get a note. We're going to add to the lien. So that was really good. It's really effective. Again, you got to have the funds to do it. And, lots of times I say lots of times, you might have to go on it 1 or 2 times, maybe once, and they'll get the idea pretty quick, if it's not a vacant lot.
The moral to the story, before we get to the good part, is, as you guys go through your budget discussions, if you're wanting more aggressive code enforcement, then that's something that we need to look at and giving more money to, because we really do. We'll run out in January and probably into early February, we're done. And that's right as we hit this time of year, April, May, and June, we have to go without money until reappropriation in July.
Part of that money is what you would use to hire a contractor to mow.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mow and tear down structures.
yeah.
Are there any staff for that, Steve, in the budget that we have, or is it just for contractors for mowing? And
It's all contracted.
it's all contracted?
Yes, ma'am. Because it's seasonal most of the time. And frankly, after we put a pencil to tearing down structures, it's much cheaper to hire local contractors than it is for us to pay employees and benefits and buy the equipment.
We certainly keep our contractors busy.
We ran out of money.
Until we run out of money.
About 2 months. Got a job built out here. We'll look at it at budget time.
Then, Brad, I have a question. So you're talking about the process, and it's a lot, and it was reviewed here recently. Is it just legally, is it as trimmed down as much as it can possibly be?
It is, and believe it or not, there's three mechanisms that we have. We have, I don't know, it seems like we revisit this about every 3 years
We're
or
fixing
so.
to show them how many we've
Yeah.
got.
Okay.
So we can write them a citation, the code enforcement writes a ticket, they go to city court. Let me tell you about that because you really need to know this. If you cite someone, we have people that, and Sharon is just, her frustration level with a lot of these people, because I get the brunt of it, I know. She comes in, hey, Brad, be done. We gotta deal with this. You have people that literally live on a, that don't even own the property, they may be squatters, and they destroy, they litter, they put so much on, and then what do? They jump ship and they go over to another street and start living somewhere else. We're facing that right now. We've cited this guy umpteen times. He's got, I can't tell you how many thousands of dollars in fines. And he's got warrants out for him. He didn't come to court. You know, he didn't own the property. He was the occupant. So guess what? We've got an ordinance. We expanded that, maybe 3 years ago? That not only can we cite the property owner, the person or entity that has the tax rolls, we can serve an occupant, anybody there that even lives there. So that has allowed us, and that has really helped out a lot in city court.
All that to say, yes, it's as streamlined as we can get it.
Sorry, that was a long answer.
Well, that's good to know that you have those two options to try to track it
The
down.
third option is district court, and we can go under the state statute, which our ordinance gives us the ability to do that. But you're talking about, I mean, it'd have to be something huge, and it's just a long process to do that.
Thank you. Ready?
Here we go. These are the code enforcement violations for 2021. The color coding, you can see on the legend on the left, for less than a month are in the yellow, and it goes all the way down to purple that are roughly 12 months, or 11 months, excuse me. So really the takeaway from this is no one is being targeted. This is basically a shotgun blast of our entire community, and it also speaks to the fact that our code enforcement people are extremely diligent about doing their job. They've got a total of 644 violations. Can you wrap your mind around that? So 475 of those are tall weeds and grass, accumulation of litter for 39, and junk vehicles is 34.
Do we know how many of those are in error? So I personally had an incident with code enforcement where I got a pretty scary, nasty letter. I don't know how those letters don't scare people, because I was terrified. They included a picture of the debris. It was my neighbor. It was on the other side of my fence, which I thought was pretty.
Did you go mow it?
No, it wasn't a mow. It was no. I'm not
Our
doing-
strategy didn't work.
No, I'm not doing anybody's work. But they had debris over there, and we got the nasty letter.
Yeah.
And so it took a minute to clean it up. So I just wanted, also to make sure that these are being done accurately. How do you determine, I guess my question is, how do you determine, in that case, how did I get the letter in error? Like what is the process for when the complaint happens, my neighbors, whatever, and there's a whole bunch of issues. What happens after that? Do you Google map it? How do you figure out?
No, we go strictly by the assessor's websites. The reason, and yours was not normal, there is a little jog on your property. There's a little jog on your property, and it did not show up on the websites that are the assessor's page that we use as being your neighbors. It came up as yours. So that's where the confusion came in. We went back, we revisited after we got the call. That is the only non, you were not normal.
There you go.
That was not a normal
Right
type
there.
thing. I mean,
It
the letter.
it might have been initiation that these guys
I think it
put
was.
into
I was
play.
terrified. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Thanks.
Sharon, you want to talk about this one? The abatements, the actual, when we step in and we have to take care of these things.
So these are some of the dangerous structures, junk and debris that we have done on abatement process only. Mowing, we had 21 abatement mowings around town. All of these were done, whenever we got the abatement ball rolling, we would go back and mow as we needed to. Or we, not us, of course, but our contractors. Our contractors don't, they come when they can. Sometimes if they're a mowing company, they can't come that day, but they'll, but then we give them 5 days. We tell them, if you want this job, you'll mow in 5 days. They do. The red dangerous structures, the red stars, those are structures that we have either located, targeted, or already torn down. Urban Renewal gave us $15,000 to tear down 6 structures. That's a lot of money for not a lot of structures, but that's about the going rate for companies to come in and tear them down now. The pink stars are my favorite because that's when people would get a hold of us and say, yes, I know that my structure is bad, and they tear it down themselves. That's no cost to us at all. And everyone walks away happy.
Can we answer any questions with regard to abatements? And again, there's not much more to say other than it really is limited by the money.
The
that it's-
resources.
Yep, that it's allocated to.
Something you can probably answer off the top of your head. How many of those that you were showing are repeat offenders? I mean, because you showed them once, but that could have been 2, 3, 4.
So the mowing abatements are, of the 21 mowing abatements on the stars right here, those are all repeat offenders.
Okay.
Some of them are annual repeat offenders. There are a few that this was their first year, but we try to track them pretty close and do what we can.
So it's generally not a one and done. It's taking up resources again and again.
Once we get all of the paperwork done for that first abatement mowing, then it's just going by, checking the properties, making sure that they're mowed correctly, and then watching to see if the absentee owner is going to come back or if we're going to have to continue to mow it. And then we do send out a statement at the end of the year to the property owner. We've had 2 pay. Out of the 21, we had 2 pay.
Because I know before, or in the past, we can't even find out who an owner is on some of this property. I mean, it's just.
I think my favorite of the bunch, if there is such thing as a favorite, there's a process that we use on occasion where a property owner is contacted by code enforcement, and they know that the property's in bad condition, or it's just filthy trash, junk, and there is they'll do what we call a voluntary abatement, and we'll arrange for a roll-off to come to the location, and it's paid for. We try to work it out where it's, as part of the agreement, that it's paid, it's paid incrementally back to the city. And that's worked on, 2 or 3 occasions. Every one of these things are different. You're dealing with different property owners, different personalities, different types of abatements. Some are small, some are big, some are repeat offenders. You really have to get sometimes creative to get, to get compliance. And I remember every time we go through this, city council, and it's just, hey, do what you have to do. We just want the property clean. And so, all of these different mechanisms that we have, we utilize those just every way we can. And sometimes it works and often it doesn't. So just got to keep after it. And we're not the only community plagued with it, I assure you. We're very aggressive with it.
One of the things